All right, you ready?
We are ready.
Coming back here, you Earthling.
Hey, man. Welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast, dude.
Here's a little tip from Elmo to help you get through life. Stop being a fucking
Welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast. We got a great show today. We got Mike Grief.
Waka waka, yes, to Elmo. You listen, yes, listen to Elmo. Shut the fuck up.
What
We
the
got-
fuck is that?
That's an Elmo. I don't know.
We got
No, that
Craig
wasn't Elmo. That was
Mitchell.
Fozzie.
That was Elmo turning into the Hulk. He was like,
I am Elmo.
Elmo smash.
Oh my God, we're not even started, and it's already
Deadly
started.
Muppets. Elmo kill.
And we have Craig Mitchell.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm
Waka
Ray
waka.
Romano turning into the Hulk.
And I'm John Ferrantino, I think.
Turn into the Hulk, John. Turn into the Hulk.
Ah, ah.
Richard
Oh, my
Simmons.
God.
Richard Simmons turning into the Hulk.
All right. Well, I'm glad we're right on track right out of the gate.
Oh yeah, well, you know.
So
what?
let me tell you something. I got to tell you something. I have a friend of mine, Jason Trask, who's a helicopter pilot who has 75,000 hours flying helicopters.
Wow.
He used to, what are you doing?
He's doing his
Helicopter
helicopter.
noise.
Oh, I thought you were defibrillating yourself.
Live here from Channel 7.
I swear to God. I thought your heart, I swear to God. So anyway, so he
We're
calls
above the
me.
traffic now, John.
Let's do this. He used to be a helicopter pilot in Hawaii, where he would, take executives from island to island. So he calls me on Sunday night and says, "Hey, you live near Melbourne, right?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I'm flying in tonight from California to Melbourne, and I have to fly a helicopter back tomorrow from Melbourne Airport to Los Angeles."
Wow.
And I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, so meet me." So we go out to breakfast. We get there.
Wait.
This
What
helicopter.
what kind of helicopter goes
This
from...
helicopter is the size of a Volkswagen.
It's a
Tiny
little
little
He's
helicopter.
flying to Los Angeles.
And he
Well,
had
it's
to fly it to Los
obviously
Angeles.
Not a direct flight.
So I go, "How long is this going to take?" He goes, just rolls his eyes. He goes, "Like 4.5 days. I have to stop 10 times for fuel."
Yeah. And I bet you has no overhead baggage compartments.
He's got a little trunk
No
in the
peanuts.
back.
No peanuts.
He's got a little trunk in the back.
The
And
flight attendants are hanging on those rails in the bottom.
so wait, we get there and he goes, "Well, I got to check out the helicopter." I go, "Why don't they just put this on a truck and send it back?" He goes, "It's actually more expensive." He goes, "They want me to fly it." I go, "You feel comfortable flying this thing by yourself? There's no
as long
co-pilot."
as long as the rubber band is in shape, he'll be
And he
fine.
goes like this. He goes, "Well, he goes, my new job is I'm a test pilot." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah. So there's a new helicopter out." He sent me a video. And the actor John Hamm, right?
Yeah.
They
yeah,
put
yeah.
him in a simulator for 1 hour, and then he gets in this helicopter with the test pilot, and he can fly the entire helicopter. It's all virtual. You put on the iPad, 700 feet, helicopter goes up to 7 feet and starts
Wow.
cruising. You want to go to the left, you turn your head, you put your hand on the iPad, you turn your head to the left, the helicopter brags to the left. You want to go down, you look down. You want to go to the right.
Yeah, that's
It's
all
the-
well and fine. I watched Sully yesterday. Let me tell you something. If that plane, Sully's plane, had been virtual, they'd all be dead.
Well, no,
Sully
that's
had
why
to
my
make decisions.
That's why my friend is in the helicopter next to him with full controls.
So here's my question: if you're flying that helicopter, what happens if you sneeze? You know,
I know. Well, you gotta have your hand. You have to have your hand on the thing.
I always have my hand on the thing.
Yeah,
So-
who doesn't?
Always.
But anyway, you have to see this helicopter. So we get there. I was gonna say that. I think it's so interesting.
That's why
You
my
get there,
helicopter's always crashing because my hand's always on
And
the
he
thing.
looks around at the helicopter and he turns the key, the ignition key, and half the dashboard lights are out.
That's
So I go-
comforting.
He goes, "Well, this is not good."
No.
So they had to get the mechanic. The mechanic comes in, pulls the dashboard up and goes, "Oh yeah, the plug fell out." Pushes it back on. The lights come on. I'm like, what?
You know what though?
Was this made by Tesla?
So
Listen,
I go to my friend. I go, call me every night. So he's been calling me every night. First night he went to Louisiana. Last night he called me from. He told me he had to stop at Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh shit!
Right.
He said when he left, the wind was so strong. He goes, I just got my ass kicked trying to get out of there.
the wind has been crazy out west out here. Yeah.
I hear too. Yeah.
You know what? I'd tell you the truth, man. You'd probably be scared shitless if you knew exactly the maintenance that went into the plane, even commercial planes before, like that shifter probably, we just had to rebuild that. And if you knew all the little shit that's actually has to work to keep you alive.
And that was the interesting part to me because I watched him. He went over the helicopter for like 45 minutes, right? Like pre-flight inspection.
Yeah.
And then they moved the helicopter from the hangar out to the runway, and I had to push it out. I mean, it doesn't weigh anything.
To help him push it.
I had to push the thing out to the runway with him. Right, has two little wheels this big on these little jacks. You take it. That's how little the helicopter was. And once we get there, he has to go all around the whole helicopter to do the check again once it moves.
Yeah,
another 45 minutes. Yeah,
those are the rules, man.
Yeah. So
how much fuel can that possibly hold?
65 gallons.
That's why he has to stop,
but still 4 times is not bad. If
no, 10 times.
No, it's so light. 10 times. 10 it's so light.
Oh,
it's so light. It's like a fuel.
It weighs
car.
nothing. The door
that's why
on
you
it
can go far without
the door on it weighs like 2 pounds. And the whole thing is a big bubble in the front. It's like
glass.
And he says to me, he goes, oh, yesterday, man. He goes, I had to fly into the sun for 5 hours. He goes, I was baking. He goes, there's air conditioning. He goes, but not like enough.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't. Do they have solar? Does it have solar panels on it, or?
That's a long flight, man.
Yeah, don't let Harrison Ford fly it.
The gerbils get tired after a while.
He's up on top of the thing checking the rotor, right? And he goes, you see this little piece right here? It's a little bolt about that big. He goes, we just sold one of these to a guy, or we didn't sell it to him, but we heard about it. And the guy was 75 years old, and it's really hard to get up on top. So he didn't bother checking it. So it went up, and the bolt fell out, and he died.
Oh, God.
Think about that. Would you want
to? This is him testing the rotor.
Would you want to have that kind of responsibility? Even think about any pilot. You're flying, and okay, yes, you understand the theories and the this and that. It's safe, but still, you've got the life of 200 or whatever people in your hands. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility.
Well, that's what I said to him. I go, you're flying this thing by yourself? He goes, you want to come? I go, no.
Yeah. That's like Mulrooney asked me to go flying with him one time. Remember Mulrooney was like, and I was like, dude, I don't even like driving in a car with you. You think I'm going to get into a friggin' plane?
Well, that's what he said to me. He goes, well, you went with your son-in-law, Ralph. He goes, he's only got like 1,800 flying hours. I got 75,000 hours. I go, yeah, I guess you're right.
Ralph has something to live for.
Did you ever see the movie Flight?
Yes,
with Denzel Washington. That's not. It's not based on a true story, but it's the most harrowing.
You've never seen it, John? He's a pilot. He's a drunk. He's cocaine and. Whatever.
Oh yeah.
And they run into an emergency, and like he does this wild maneuver to save the plane.
Inverted,
yeah, I did see that movie.
And Robert Zemeckis, for the guy who did Roger Rabbit and Castaway, directed that, I believe.
Yeah.
Really good movie. Denzel Washington was great, and John.
Speaking of movies, man. So the writers, man, are walking the line.
Denzel Washington is always great.
He is always great.
The writers are walking the line. Are we gonna?
I know. Yeah.
Well, we're not writing this show, so we're okay, right?
No. Well, we're not. I'm not in the Writers Guild, so I don't have nothing to worry.
Neither am I.
So wait, actually, we're doing this live show. Does that make us scabs? Are we writing something going against the? No,
I don't know. But we're all. I don't know. I don't know if podcasts count.
Okay, man, stop thinking. We got to do stuff without thinking because otherwise we might get in trouble.
Maybe you just sit here and be quiet for the next 45
there
minutes. That would be all right,
Well, that'd be your normal performance. But anyway,
wow, thinking of normal performances. Let's keep my sex life out of it. Anyway,
you better defib that.
All right. Well, okay. So there's a writer's strike going on and it's basically a lot in New York and
New York
in
and LA. They're walking. I know our buddy Rick Overton is walking the picket line.
Yes,
right
he
now,
is.
Probably
my
as we
daughter's
speak.
walking the picket line.
Your daughter, look at that. I mean,
Jay Leno showed up yesterday at all of the picket lines and gave out donuts. Gave out donuts.
I saw Jay last week on Burbank Boulevard. He was driving a gold 1956 Studebaker. It was awesome.
I used to see him on Hollywood Way all the time, man. It's like, just like normal. I'd seen him in a Stanley
White
steamer.
hair.
Okay,
Blue denim
so
shirt, always.
do you know that he had that accident on his 49 Indian motorcycle with the sidecar?
Yeah, that was after he got burned, right?
Do you know what happened? Do you know what happened? I just read a whole article about it.
He got messed up. He was hiding it. He hides all.
But do you know how it happened?
No, how did it happen?
He's laughing. It must be funny.
He was riding along, right, and noticed that the sidecar was like vibrating and loose.
Right.
So he decided that he was going to make a U-turn and go back to the garage. Went into a parking lot that had a cable strung across it.
Oh, that's right. I did hear about that. And he got hit by the cable.
Didn't have any rags hanging on it. It hit him in the chest, knocked him off the bike. The bike went into the building and kind of has to all be rebuilt.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but I mean, Jay Leno had to
and that was up higher, man. That could have taken his head off.
Yeah, it would have hurt his chin.
I know.
Actually, I think his chin would have stopped it.
Yeah, his chin is a natural guard.
It's the mighty chin.
I read an article once that Jay Leno. I'm really glad we stay on topic. I read an article once that Jay Leno.
We haven't even hit the topic.
What topic is that, John?
Jay Leno once was. They were going to make him a big kids performer. He was going to be a host of all these kid shows.
1-800.
Oh,
and when they tested him, kids were horrified at his chin,
the size of his head. It's the Great Pumpkin. Oh my God.
Oh man.
So anyway, so the writer's strike, really quickly, we'll go what it's about for people that don't know. The writer's strike is most shows when they used to be on network used to be a 20-show series or a 12-show series, and now most Netflix shows or cable shows are only 8 to 10. So if the show gets canceled, you're out, plus you're making half the amount of money that you used to make. So they're saying that they can't really survive. Plus, there's a thing with rewrites and the thing about it going to, when it gets sold to other shows, you're getting a percentage of the licensing agreements. And there's a whole bunch of other things.
I'm glad you know, because I almost feel like a Trump supporter. I don't know any of the facts, but I support them all the way.
I know this only because my daughter's in the Writers Guild.
Yeah, and what's happening is broadcast TV is essentially in transition. Some people say dying, but you have shows like NCIS, Law and Order, these hour-long procedurals, which are still doing well. They do 22 episodes a year.
Right.
Sitcoms, they usually have 22, but now they're being rolled
used to be
back
22.
They're rolled back to 12 now. Usually.
Some 15, some 18, some 12, some 13.
You know what? I don't understand. The studios are trying to say they don't make money, but okay, I get it. During the pandemic, you lost a lot of people didn't go to the movies, but Netflix and things like that, I'm sure exploded because people were stuck at home. They took up subscriptions.
They took prescriptions to watch their subscriptions.
Yeah, I need a prescription.
I had to get high before what? And come on, so you can't tell me Disney Plus, Netflix, all of these things are probably huge.
Supposedly Disney Plus is losing money. Supposedly,
I can't imagine that. I mean, isn't the what is it? They got the
Mandalorian.
Don't they have the Mandalorian?
Yep. They don't have the subscribers to uphold to make money. Look how much each episode of the Mandalorian is like $3 or $4 million. That's a lot of money for an episode.
I
don't even know what that show. I don't even know what that show is.
It's about a guy who does Chinese laundry. The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Anyway, serious.
That's the Mandalorian.
Oh,
Mandalorian.
But they
dang, that was a good one.
No, it doesn't even matter. It's like how many. I get it. I mean, who can afford? First of all, you need to have your basic cable subscription. So then, if you're subscribing to Netflix, Disney, it becomes a freaking lot of money. Honestly,
I cut cable. I don't have cable.
I have Netflix right now because Patty wanted to watch a series. We watched a couple of series, and I think it was Ted Lasso. Was Ted Lasso on Netflix?
No, that's Apple Plus.
That's Apple Plus. So we got that. Plus something on Netflix, a couple shows on Netflix we've been watching.
Dude, I stop Netflix, and people go, "Oh, just watch on Netflix," and I go, "I don't have Netflix." People are like, "What's
Yeah.
wrong with you?"
No, normally we don't have it either. We picked it up just to watch some series, and I keep telling her cancel the net after we watched it, cancel it.
Yeah, binge it.
She finds another. It's what we do. We binge watch them. Then she
Okay.
finds another thing she wants to watch, and we got
The other big thing on the strike is they're afraid now with all this AI that they're going to get AI to write scripts and then only hire writers to punch it up.
There's no way.
Well, then I'll get a job because
no, actually, that's interesting.
That is my specialty is punching up. I mean, I can take a shitty script and make it funny.
I thought you meant something else with the punch.
No.
It's a guy in the parking lot. They punch him up.
No, my actual writing specialty is taking something and funny, but making it funny or putting more jokes and stuff. I can't do what John's daughter does. I can't sit there and write and just. I know people that do that. It's their job. They sit there 8 hours. They write or more. I can't do that. I can sit there, look at what you got, and go, well, okay, I can make this funny.
I don't understand how my daughter be like writing 6 scripts at the same time.
She
goes, I love it. She goes, I love it. She goes, because when I can't think of any more about that script, I just go to a different script.
Well, she found her calling. I mean, it takes a certain kind of that's how you have to love writing to be. That's what people don't understand. They think it's easy. It's easy. It's not, man. It's torture for me anyway. It's torture to sit and just write something for long periods of time.
I have an idea, like, because I have to write comedy sketches for all of my shows, and I'll have the idea and I'll sit on it for weeks before I actually get down in front of a blank page. Even if I have the germ of the idea and I know where it's going, it's like torture to actually start writing it. But once you start going, I can't stop.
Yeah. Once you hit on a good idea, like when we were doing those sketches and I came out with a good, they write themselves. But a long story, I don't know. I couldn't.
We still need to do Jacoby and Frank. I still think that would go viral. That's hilarious.
There's a few, man. My favorite is that and Beth on Meth.
For the uninitiated, Mike and I at one point were developing a streaming comedy sketch show. Yeah, for Taste on TV, which is no longer with us.
So, anyway,
hey John, can you at least? Can you paint the roof of our new studios, man? It's embarrassing. I tell people, come to the new studio.
It's a metal roof.
I know,
it's a metal roof. It's a tin roof. That means that's the Love Shack.
Paint it, man. Yeah, wow. Well, it is the Love Shack, but
I love this new studio.
I do.
Bad broadcast baby.
This is actually my favorite building in all of Merritt Island.
Is it real? Is it a real building on Merritt Island?
Oh yeah. I'll take it to you. You'll see it.
All right,
you should buy it. You should really buy it.
I think that it's on some prime real estate. I think that's why.
He's probably living it.
I think that's why he's staying there.
Oh, just to keep it's on valuable real estate.
Yeah, it's really it's on South Tropical Trail, which is
the Love Shack. Of course, it's going to be on some.
Oh, jeez, I just lost the whole screen.
Hold on, that's okay. We can see you and hear you, so act as if.
Okay.
Somebody defibrillate John.
So anyway, I was looking through the news for some stories to talk about.
Yeah.
And I found this story, and this is in the LA Times. Women's loud and full body orgasm heard during LA Philharmonic concert.
I heard about this. She came during the concert.
That's how one woman was probably thinking after she reportedly experienced a loud and full body orgasm during a recent performance of Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony by the LA Philharmonic at Walt Disney Concert Center in Los Angeles.
Let's be honest, man. Who hasn't come during Tchaikovsky? I mean,
it's Tchaikovsky, sure. Mozart never.
Yeah, no, I'm
listen to this. One of the bystanders said, I saw the girl after it happened, and I assumed that she had an orgasm because she was breathing heavy. Her partner was smiling and looking at her like in an effort not to shame her.
That could have been a heart attack, though. Because
he said, wait. The woman said it was quite beautiful.
It was quite beautiful.
Also, attendance at the concert was a British composer whose brother was the composer, who insisted it absolutely happened after social media erupted with doubtful claims of the authenticity of the audio clip. A woman in the audience had a full and loud full-body orgasm during the 5th second movement.
Now, that was at the Disney thing, right?
The concert hall on Hill Street.
Now, that tells you about the acoustics there. Because she may not have been screaming. The acoustics are so good in there. But I want to know, what kind of a world are we living in where it's like, you got to fiddle each other in a concert.
Do you know what the name of the song was? Honey, here's
I'm
my credit.
coming
Honey,
up.
no,
I want the world
no,
to know.
it was Honey, here's my credit card.
He has my credit
The
card.
composer said, wait,
Another
listen,
orgasmic song.
listen what the one
It was very
can know.
sexy.
One cannot know exactly what happened, but it seemed very clear
One
from the
cannot.
sound. But it was very clear by the sound of expression of pure physical joy. The woman has not been identified.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you it used a lot of really low, deep horns, like tubas or sousaphones or French horns. You
Come on,
gotta
man.
vibration.
I can
Tchaikovsky.
only equate it to a romantic swell.
Okay. A swell as in a wave.
You know,
huh?
her boyfriend's walking into the bedroom next week with a trumpet. You ready, honey?
Aye.
Here we go.
Oh my God. You know what the funny thing is so you said look for stories, and now I feel bad because my story is not, it's whatever, but it's about this Dutch. First of all, Dutch. Where is Dutch? There's no country called Dutch. Okay. So whenever somebody says Dutch, I go, okay, I know it's the Netherlands, but it's like it doesn't automatically, you think Dutch. I'm thinking wooden shoes, Dutch, you know.
Dykes.
But I guess it comes from Deutschland, because Germany, it used to be Germany and the Netherlands, and they called it, that was like that's where the Deutschland.
Now another geography lesson.
But anyway,
Mike Reeve.
I know, really. Hey, so what you want to do is you want to go to Dutchland and go left. That's where Dutch people live.
Dutch.
Dutch. But so anyway, this ridiculous story was about a guy who was like banned from donating any more sperm. He's the father of over 550 kids in Dutchland, in fucking.
He's the sperminator.
He's the sperm, but like, I mean, first of all, he's banned, but it's like, how often are you going? I mean, like, you know, this guy's walking around in the streets going, "Hey, you need some? You need some? Come here, I got some. You need some?"
Yeah, I didn't know Nick Cannon was in Europe.
Oh,
All I know is I read that same story that in that town they're hiding the dogs.
Oh no!
They're riding the lambs, the dogs. I'm just trying to tenderize them. I don't know.
Talk about Attack of the Clones. Thank you.
It's
Hero Week.
how big is the Netherlands that you need? First of all, the law that he broke was you're only allowed to donate. You're only allowed to have 24 kids with 12 mothers. How small that you don't realize this one guy is the father of over 550 kids? It's like, how many sperm banks are in the Netherlands?
Wasn't there a comedy movie?
Yeah,
like
it was
that?
a Vince Vaughn movie called, I forget what the hell it was called, but he was like the father of like 1,000,
like 100 kids. Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
What the fuck?
he needed. Oh, you didn't see that movie? I think it was called The
I
Delivery Man,
just-
The Delivery Man, or something
Yeah,
like that.
something. Yeah.
Delivery man. Yeah, obviously.
Every time I think of like Amsterdam stuff, somebody gave me a birthday card once. It made no sense, but I laughed about it for like 2 years ago. There's an old saying in Holland when it's your birthday, and you open it up and it said, "Happy birthday, wooden shoes."
That's
no.
okay.
It's just so stupid. It's just so funny. Happy birthday, wooden shoes.
So 500 kids. That's
Over
like,
550, it said.
And you would think in the wooden shoes they'd hear them sneaking up on them.
But like, and here's another thing to think about. When those kids grow up and they get, want to get married and date, they may, without even knowing it, you may be screwing your sister. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this guy's the father. It's how big is this country that it's like when these kids all become aged, they're going to have papers showing that they're not related.
Wouldn't it be half sister?
It would be half, but still, you'd still be screwing a half sister. I mean, I think that's frowned upon in most of the world.
You'd be like the royal family.
Well, why would it be a half sister?
Because they got the same father, but a different mothers.
Mother, half sister.
Right. Okay.
They'd be half brothers, half sisters, whatever. It just.
Hey,
sounds...
well, my story is we're taping this on May 4th, even though we debut on May 5th. And May 4th is May the 4th be with you. It's Star Wars Day. Come on.
Oh, no.
I knew this would get traction with you guys. You're so into this. We mentioned The Mandalorian earlier.
Obi-Wan,
but here's the thing. It ties into your story, Mike. First of all, there's clones. There's clones in Star Wars, hundreds of them.
Yes,
and Luke and Leia, brother and sister, and they kissed in Empire Strikes Back. So
they kissed, but they felt funny about it.
They felt funny about it. It felt kind of. I don't know.
Hey, is that Jabba the Hutt in your pocket, or you're just happy to see me?
I see your Yoda is growing. All right.
There's a
Okay,
day for
yes.
yesterday was National Paranormal Day.
Paranormal.
Followed by
Yeah.
Star Wars Day, which is
Followed by Star-
perfect.
National
My own
Paranormal Day.
advice will I take about who is to be trained. Yes.
My
Yes.
lightsaber is glowing.
Ooh.
So I read another story that
See,
John,
John, no traction with John. Move on.
you're reading a lot, John.
I read another story. I mean,
That's how John
you
says
know,
"fuck you," Craig. He goes,
Yeah,
"So I
well,
read this
not
other
fuck you,
story.
but,
I don't
I've
know
never
anything
seen-
about Star Wars.
I've never seen Star
never
Wars in
watched
my
a Star
fucking
Trek
life.
I
in
don't know
my
anything
life.
about football, but that doesn't stop you from fucking telling 10,000 stories about football."
All right, I'll just shut up and listen.
No, that's
Let's-
not it. Tell
let's
us
hear
more
this-
about Aaron
Yes.
Rodgers. Go
Tell
ahead.
us more about your story.
We want to know about the Aaron
Yes,
Rodgers.
your
Yes.
story.
What do
Yes.
you know about Star Wars, Mike?
I know a lot about Star Wars. I've seen almost all the movies. Well,
Oh,
not
I've seen the movies too, but who cares? It's like a who cares movie.
No, actually, I mean Star Wars. The
original Star Wars
The
was
original,
great.
when I saw it in the theater. See, kids today will never experience that because the technology didn't exist. So you
Right.
had no idea.
Right.
When you saw that
Right.
ship coming overhead and that other chasing, it was like, whoa, it fucking blew. So you can recreate it.
Even
but it won't
those
be the
things that
same.
were one of those things that were walking, you know, what do they call
See,
those?
that's Empire Strikes
Just-
Back.
Just
Yeah.
blew you.
That's
The
the
technology.
ACAX.
The
And
technology was
And those
brand
like
new.
motorcycle things they rode were really cool.
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
cool.
those were
Although
cool.
they only appeared in one movie, I think.
Yeah, but they were really cool.
Yeah, they were. They were.
By the
they were
way,
very
Mike,
cool.
I just saw here on the web they're actually making a movie about that guy in the Netherlands who fathered the 550 kids.
Right? What's
Yeah,
it called?
it's called
Spackleman?
it's called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
All at once. How I spackled the Netherlands.
Can you imagine him on Father's Day?
Got a gift. Wow, another tie. Thank you.
Okay, bring in the next semi with my gifts. Oh shit, 300 more pairs of wooden shoes.
Oh, great. I'm clogging. Yes, indeed. I'm
Well,
clogging.
you know what? Do you know why he had to donate sperm? Because there's so many dykes in the Netherlands.
No,
Thank you.
let me tell you
thank
something.
Thank you so
No,
much.
no,
I'm
I
here
have-
all
I have-
week.
I have a theory. Now, listen to this. Here's a guy who definitely had a roommate or something like that, or he had somebody share. He didn't have any privacy, so he needed a place where he could do that. And he said, "Hey, shit, here I can go here and not only do it, but get paid to do it."
Get paid to do it.
So it's like, shit, I get away from my roommate. I think that's why he donated so
Well,
much.
did he have?
any
He must have had
privacy.
to change his name or something
Right.
to Sir Come-a-Lot.
Come on.
Sir, come on.
Circumference.
What a jerk off. What a jerk off that guy was.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
He's always spouting off.
We've risen to the level.
He's always spouting off, that guy.
What was that old joke? So bad. The old joke, there's a sign that says chicken sandwiches, chicken salad sandwich, $5, hand
Right.
jobs, $10.
Right.
And the guy walks in the diner and this beautiful woman walks up to him, like right out of the Playboy centerfold.
Right.
And the old man goes, "Are you the one that gives the hand jobs for $10? And she goes, "Yes, I am." He goes, "Well, wash your hands. I want a chicken salad sandwich."
Why is he have the Jewish accent? I don't know, but it's funny.
I don't-
I don't know.
think it
Why are all those jokes? It's very funny. Why are all those jokes?
Little old
The guy
Jewish
has
guys.
to have a
It's
Jewish
funny.
accent.
Because it's a funny thing when a guy has a Jewish accent. He's old. It's, hello, I want a chicken salad
I've
sandwich.
had a
please."
chicken salad. It just sounds fun. It's like if Jackie
Oh,
Mason,
man.
that's why Jackie Mason was so funny.
Hello, Aunt. There's a party in my mouth, and you're the guest of
There
honor.
you go. You gotta love that.
So the other quick story that I read was about these because it reminded me. Remember when you used to do like prison moments, and you did a whole
Prison-
show on
Prison
shivs
moments
and
with Mike
shivs,
Reef.
shivs and shanks.
Shanks and shivs, yeah.
So these two guys were in a Roanoke prison, and they decided they were going to break out. So it took them they said it took them like a year and a half to make the tools. They made something out of a toothbrush handle. They
Right.
found some metal, and they made like a little saw, and then they cut a hole in the wall of the prison
Right.
and then cut through the rebar. So you can imagine how long that took.
Hmm.
And then went out and patched it up and escaped. And then 2 days later, they got out. 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 And then 2 days later, and they were caught 20 miles away in a Denny's.
Oh, you gotta have a snack after all that work.
Yeah, after all, you want a grand slam.
Just
That's
remind
what
me
you
sometime.
want.
I'll tell you how to make a knife out of nothing but cigarette butts.
You know
along with your tomato soup.
My tomato basil soup. Yes.
what's a prison break without a moons over my hammy? Come on, seriously.
You know, really.
They, and they weren't even in for like big crimes. They were in for like, well, one guy had a violation of his parole, so we don't know what his parole was.
But see, John, maybe they weren't breaking out to escape. Maybe they were breaking out to get some Denny's.
I know that's what they, that's what they figured. Crazy.
By the way, just to let you guys know, our guest is in the waiting room. We didn't even mention that we have a guest today.
Oh, we have a great guest today.
Really, really funny, talented guest.
Yes,
Say intro him now, or should we wait?
Let's do it. No, let's bring him in.
Take it away.
Yeah, no, I mean he's been in hundreds of shows and movies. I mean, probably he was part of Second City, the touring company, which
a couple of my favorite movies.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. He was in Nothing in Common.
Yes, Nothing in Common.
The director. He was in The Breakfast Club. He played the janitor. He was in The Late Shift. He played Bob Morton. He's currently playing a bad guy, which is great. He's on I think it's Days of Our Lives. He's got an album. This guy is really super funny and talented. So let's bring in John Kapelos. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. John Kapelos. It's going to be a little bit of a lag. Here he comes. That's
here you go.
Actually, here you can see right there.
I see his shield.
That's his shield. And welcome, Mr. Kapelos.
Hey, welcome.
Hey guys.
How you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Oh, you're in front of the bar. I'll take a gimlet, please. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, for you, I don't know.
You're right.
He's drunk already. He doesn't need any more.
Hell yeah. We're having fun. So how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I guess I left my white beard at home, but
You
in the other room. I'm good. I'm really, really good. Good to see you. Good to be seen.
Yeah. We were just talking. I mean, the credit that stands out for all of us, well, aside from the most obvious is because we're all comics and we're into comedy, is a Second City. I mean, when did you start at Second City?
August 4th of 78 is when I auditioned, and then
Can you be more specific, sir? No.
It was quite a memorable day for me, and I went into the main company. I went into the touring company in September of that year, and then I went to the main company around the time that Charles and Di got married, around 1982.
Oh, wow.
The week that they got married, I think, is the week that I got into the main company.
Wow, that's
what I remember.
Wow.
And I lasted a bit longer than their marriage, so.
It ended happier too.
So you did a lot of improv. Did you do any stand-up or just improv?
No, I've always been a sort of actor / sketch comedy guy, not a stand-up thing. It's never really been, I have a lot of respect for it, and I think it's really an incredible thing, but it's not my.
No, trust me, we have no respect for it.
That's the way I think.
That's why we do it.
That's why we do it, because we have no respect for it.
It's such a different animal, yeah. And I mean, unless you really, really, know and appreciate that. And like stand-ups, you guys know it's a different breed entirely, and not entirely a nice one. But then again, it was Knives Out at Second City when I was there too. So
it's really interesting doing stand-up for 20 years and also having my own improv group. Doing improv made me a better stand-up because you become more fearless about if something goes south. You always feel you can pull something out of your butt to handle it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and I also think conversely, I think it would help a lot of sketch actors if they stood up on stage alone more often, and had to, like poor Michael Richards. The guy sank his career because he didn't spend 2-3 nights with a really good stand-up comedian and working at a stand-up club and just know how to fucking handle stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
He took it all personally, and you have to understand when you're on stage, nothing's personal.
And also using his whole thing of doing the N-word, and then it not working right out for him. It's just like anybody could have told him, you just don't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And the only way you really learn about stuff like that is when you crash and burn on stage a lot. And then, the one thing I learned about Second City, I learned a lot about Second City, and you guys know this, is that it's really good that you I mean, Malcolm Gladwell said whatever 10,000 hours. It's really good that you fail a lot before you succeed and that's what Hollywood doesn't allow you to do. And that's what
Yes.
a lot of clubs and places out in the hinterlands. And when I started at Second City, I learned quite early, and like Chicago and all the Midwest where I toured and into Canada or wherever the frig frago was, aside from New York and LA, it was a really good place to learn and display and learn your talent and learn how to fall on your face.
Oh, and that's so important. You said it all. You learn more, and I learned this early on. You learn so much more from a bad set than you will ever learn from a good set, because you learn nothing from a good set.
No kidding. I mean, the only thing, and even now, guys, when I work on a film or TV, whatever, if I come out, if I come out a little bit burned, like, oh, it wasn't a great day or something, it's better for me to come out of that saying, oh shit, there's something I got to do to make myself better, than to come out of it going, oh God, wasn't I great? Because
Yeah.
you don't learn anything from that. And also, look at the people that surround themselves with people that tell them they're great. They turn into a-holes.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
they are a-holes,
I think once you lose your humility in this business, then it's downhill ride, because
Well, it's hard stand up. It's harder today too, because like when we started doing stand up in New York, there was so many clubs, and they were showcase clubs, so you could go in and you could bomb, you could eat it, and that's what you did, that to make yourself better. But now there's so many, like, everyone wants to get to the point where they're working and getting paid. They're afraid to have a bad set, even in these showcase clubs.
yeah, but that's the only way
I know, but
that's
I
the only
mean,
way to
but you know what
learn.
I'm saying? It's a lot different now than when we did it. A lot
Yeah,
different.
I think it's a lot different for like a shite load of reasons. But one of the big ones is that I think what's happened with the internet and the computer is that everybody's more used to camera ready stuff. So you have this TikTok stuff where people
Right.
like clicked in, they've made their video 35, 40 times, and they've arrived and they edited a thing and they put the filter on it and all that stuff. So it looks good. We're in a click and grab world too, where people think they can appropriate stuff.
Yeah.
And then just make it their own right away. And they go out and they need to be perfect and camera ready right off the top. And there's no process, which is a word that people, I think, are forgetting about. And there's no learning curve, right? So it's got to be now or never. And in doing so, I think it sort of throws away all the stuff that we grew up with, is like paying your dues. That whole aspect of paying your dues is just, I think that's a concept that is lost on a lot of people right now.
I didn't find out that you were in Second City until a mutual friend told me, John Kramer.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, he told me that. And I was just curious, who were some of the people that you started out with in 78 through 82?
James Cagney, Humphrey Bogart, no. Diana Dors.
They were just coming up.
Back in the day. Here you go.
My crew, as it were, I mean, the people that, when I first got to Second City and saw the company, I started in Toronto. So the people that I saw in the first company that were working out the first night I went on stage were Catherine O'Hara and Gene Levy and Martin Short and John Candy. Okay, so those are people, and Steve Campman and a guy named Peter Torquevay. Those guys were up in Canada at the time. But then when I went down to Chicago, the main stage company was Jim Belushi, George Wendt, Bruce Jarko, Maria Ricosa, Audrey Neenan, and Will Porter. And there's some people you might know, some you may not know. Will Porter changed his name to Will Aldis and went on to write Stealing Home, a movie with Mark Harmon, and several other. Yeah. He wrote a lot of movies. He wrote, I think he wrote the Rodney Dangerfield movie, Back to whatever school or whatever.
Back to School, yeah.
Back to School.
And anyway, and then my company that I eventually became associated with was Mike Haggerty, who sadly just died last year.
He just passed away. What a great actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, and also a major league friend. Richard Kind, Isabella Hoffman, Megan Fay, a guy named Rick Thomas, who's in Chicago now. Is not really easy. He's a political guy. More of a commentarian. Right. And those are, that was my main group of people.
So many great people came from
Great
set.
group.
You know what? I want to know when I talk to a guy like, I have a resume, but nothing like yours. I mean, I think I have 80 something credits. You have like, but what I always want to know is when, even to this day, when you walk on a set, like if you're doing not like, I know now you have your own thing, but when you walk on a set and you're a guest star, or you're whatever, do you still feel a little intimidated? Do you feel that, like, because I mean, you're a stranger and you're coming onto this family that's been together, and I know that for me, I always feel a little intimidated. I always wondered about a guy like you.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's always like you're being transferred to another school, and then they're in the middle of the semester, and
Yeah,
you feel like you don't know anybody, and every effing time. And honestly, the more you do, the more they sort of come on and kind of treat you weirdly too. It's like, oh, this guy's going to have an attitude. So you can tell that they're almost expecting something from you.
right.
I'm not going to give them to them because that's not the way I'm wired. But for the most part, yeah. And I think it's not bad for me to be a little bit nervous and intimidated, but I don't like to intimidate. But I can tell that sometimes people are nervous around me, and that strikes me. I get it, and it's a little bit funny if they knew me, but.
I always like to be a little intimidated and a little nervous because it sparks my performance. The fear kind of like drives me to be my best. It means it's important to me.
And you never know. It's funny until you get down on a cellular chemical level with people, who you're going to click with and who you're not. I mean, I've been in situations like when I was on Seinfeld, there were, a couple of actors that just, I got along with. And there was one that just didn't particularly cotton to me.
Yeah.
And, doesn't matter who, what, where, when.
All right. No, it's true.
Yeah, I've had that feeling on a few shows.
We've had shows, we've had guests, and we just like that. We have a natural chemistry with you. I don't, I feel that already. But we've had guests on the show where it's kind of like, so.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
well,
I remember going into an audition once several years ago, and I've never told this story out loud, but where you go into an audition, this is when like actors used to go in LA. I mean, it's all changed now, but
yeah,
let's say this is about 10, 15 years ago. And I go into an audition, there are about 5 actors sitting there, and it's really quiet, right? And then you see another actor across the way. Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? Good to see you. Hey, I really enjoyed working on that movie with you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Okay, enjoy your script and keep quiet.
Yeah.
And this other actor in the corner, an older guy, sort of looks like the way I look now. He looked at me, he goes, fun. Well, I'm really glad that movie for you guys was fun. Then he went back to the script. And I thought to myself, that extra old guy. And like this guy's a named guy. I've seen him in a few movies since. And he's died.
Oh.
And when he died, I was, corner of my mouth sort of. But, and I get it. He was pissed off, and he heard 2 younger actors talking about how much fun they had on a movie, and he probably hadn't been working in a while, and he's an older guy, and it's like it's not just about fun, it's about feeding your family, and it's about, putting your kids to university and all whatever. But,
well, it's not only that factor. I've always found too, it's like, I find that, I'm sad to say, and I hope but I found a lot of actors are small, and they're just trying to distract the other guys sitting in the room, and they're talking, and they know everyone's listening, and it's like, it's always seemed to me a way of like they're trying to throw off your rhythm and throw off your,
Mike, I swear to God, I didn't know you were listening. I'm sorry, man.
Greg, when did you get here? Anyway.
It's funny, I did an audition. I wrote a short story about this, and I've got a bunch of little things that I'm going to publish, I hope, at some point. But I went to an audition several years ago, and I was really, really ticked. It was August 4th, right? It was the day that I auditioned for Second City, and it was about many years later, and I was going to do a freaking audition over at the Int Studios for some TV show. And actors self-sabotage a lot. I sometimes do, like, oh, I got to audition, and they don't know my work, and I'm better than this. So I go and I sit down at the audition, and I sit down next to this guy, and his hands are shaking just a little bit. Not because he's old, but he's an older man, but because he's a bit nervous. He's about to go in the room. And I look at him, and it's Rance Howard.
Wow.
Oh, I know Rance.
He-
I mean, he's passed away, but
He's about 20 years older than me, right?
yeah.
He's Ronnie Howard's son.
Right.
The father, I mean.
Father, yeah.
You know, Clint Howard and Ronnie Howard is
Yeah. Clint's a very good friend of mine.
and look at him and I think to myself, holy shite. Here he is, Rance Howard reading for this damn TV show.
Yeah.
So I just sort of, hey, excuse me, Mr. Howard, love to meet. I know you're about to audition. He goes, oh, yeah, it's okay. I said, my name's John Kapelos. Oh, hi, John. Nice to meet you. Can I ask you a question, sir? I said, when did you start acting? He looks up and goes, you know what, John? It's funny you should mention that. It was August, about this time, 1948. Now, this is exactly 30 years before I started acting, which
Yeah.
was 1970.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, I just got out of the service and I was in the GI program. And I said, Lou's looking around. What the hell am I going to do? I guess I did that. Whatever the story was, he told me. Already, I'm feeling humbled. And I'm going to tell you something, guys. I almost burst into tears because I thought to myself, man, if I'm doing this 30 years from now, the way he is,
Yeah.
I should be kicking myself going, you know, here I am. I had it on totally wrong. Here I was thinking, oh, I should.
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought to myself, no, I should be doing this for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we met after he went in the audition, I went in the audition. And then afterwards, I saw him outside and he was on his little cell phone. I don't know how to figure out these damn things. I got to call my And we had a little moment talk there. And then he passed away a couple years ago, and I felt badly when he did, of course. But it was just a brief, sweet encounter.
He was such a humble guy. I did a show with Clint. This is years ago when the internet was just popping out. And it was called the Clint Howard Variety Show. And we did it in the backyard of one of Rance's houses. And we had, Ron would come down and whatever. And Rance was our grip. He was our key grip. and that's, I mean, like he was that's the way he raised those guys. And that's the way he was, just a humble, hardworking. I mean, he could have been a rancher. If you looked at him, you'd have been, this guy could have just been, no ego, just, he would, because I've thought the same thing. I remember going on a lot of auditions and you see people you recognize and you go, man, you would think that guy doesn't have to read for a part. But
well, they do. Everybody has to beg for a role at some point.
Yeah. And that's just the reality of it. And it makes me go, you know what? Who am I to say that I should just be handed? Because I remember when I started, there was a couple roles where they'd call and just ask, hey, do you want this? And I'd go, yeah. And I go, man, that was just luck, or it's somebody you knew. It wasn't, it's just not the way the business works.
Candy was a mentor and an early helper and a lot of things to me. And I asked him once, say, hey, John, you see actors on the Tonight Show and I talk about, I turned down this role and this one was offered to me and this and that. And he says, it's bullshit. He says, just do everything. They ask you to do it, do everything. Now, he did a lot of stuff and some of it wasn't great, but I think the more you do, the better you get. And I have a kind of simpleton theory about acting. There are some actors that start out really, really great and they get a lot of kudos and they get a lot of attention and great reviews. And then they sort of fade, and then there are the actors that sort of start off okay, but then they get better.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that's a sort of very kind of a simple approach to it, but I'd rather be in the later category where you're sort of okay, but you get better.
You're growing, yeah.
But the ones that think that they're hot stuff at the beginning and indeed get good reviews, I think they get saddled with that. Kenneth Branagh, for example, etc. But the list is long, and I don't think actors benefit from sometimes too much water in their garden at the beginning.
You have such a huge catalog, and we only have a limited amount of time. There's
I'll shut up and let you guys ask questions.
No, I want to bring up at least 3 or 4 of them. And
oh my God,
start with the
you're in 2 of my all-time incredible favorite movies.
The Breakfast Club. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, meeting John Hughes, working with him, and.
Well, I met John when I did 16 Candles, and then we did you were the groom. You were the groom of 16 Candles, right? I was the oily bohunk groom, Rudy Rizchek, and all the sort of the bizarre family, and my wife on the muscle relaxants at the wedding and all that stuff. And that was fun. It was, I mean, a lot of fun, and it was exciting. And I got, the guys on that movie, there were a lot of old cockers. Carol Cook just passed away.
Yeah.
And Max Showalter, all the grandparents were like, Max Showalter was in the movie Niagara with Marilyn Monroe. I mean, these, in a lot of feature films, when I go back now and look at these guys, I wish we had IMDb when I was doing that, because I would have known all these people's, resumes as well as
right.
But anyway, that was fun. And then John said to me, I got this movie called The Breakfast Club that's I'm going to do next, and it's really going to be fantastic, and I want you to be in it. And then flash ahead, I'm in New York, and I'm working off Broadway, Second City at the Village Gate, and I open up what used to be the New York trade papers of Variety, the big, thick New York Variety, the blue masthead, and I'm seeing that John Hughes is lensing The Breakfast Club in Chicago, and I close the magazine. And then literally the next day, I got a call from my agent saying that John had a parting of the ways with Rick Moranis, who had the role originally, and would come into Chicago and do the part. And ironically, they flew me back to Chicago. I stayed back in my own apartment and then worked in the movie for whatever, 2 weeks, X number of days.
So thank you, Rick Moranis' ego.
When I came onto the movie, it was tough, because they all knew one another, and the kids were kind of like, so I slept in the janitor's office at the school and kept to myself, did what I needed to do, improvised when I needed to. And then, like children, like real children, they sort of, come to you slowly if you don't overwhelm them.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, who are you? And,
Did you think it was
they were like the young Rat Pack at the time.
They were.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they were they were called the Brat Pack, and they had a lot of stuff going on around them, and when I saw them out here in LA, it was a little bit daunting. They had women and
they become a Hollywood life, but that's one of those movies
that hanging around with their hands in their pockets saying, "Hey, can I help you with something?"
But that's one of those movies that I've seen it 1,000 times, and every time it's on. If it comes on TV, it's like I'll watch it again, because it's just that and the other movie, it's like it's just overwhelming. It's nothing in common, because I mean, I'm such a huge Gleason, I just love Jackie Gleason and Tom Hanks, and
that was a golden moment too. I mean, the fun thing about that movie for me was that I got to work with my buddies, like Haggerty's in it, and Dan Castellaneta, and all the Second City folks, and Jackie Gleason's last film, right? So he showed up and he shuffled on the set and goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to work." And then sit down, and they put a glass in his hand, and his wife would be on one side and his agent would be in the other, and they'd sort of whisper in his ear, and Gary Marshall would say, Mr. Gleason, we're going to do a scene now. Would you like here? And he'd get up and do his stuff. And I remember he depended on one of my cues in the office to do an entrance, one of my vocal cues, which was, I think, Ringo Starr is a grandfather, for God's sake, I think was my line.
Yeah.
That I improvised. And then he enters it. But, and then at the end of the day, they'd tap him on the shoulder and go, Mr. Gleason, that's a wrap. And he'd get up and go, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure." And then
that's a very, very, I feel, underrated movie, in that it's so damn good. It's such a great movie.
And Hanks is on fire in that film, and it's Ward's first sort of big break. She's sweet and not sweet, but interesting and very
gorgeous.
And the guy, I'm sorry, what's his name? The wonderful actor,
Harry Corbin.
John Corbett is really, really good in that.
Oh my God! When he does the countdown, 3, 2, 1. Oh, I love that scene. Oh my God!
And Chicago looks good in the movie. It's Chicago in a period like Marina Towers, where I was just there the other day and had breakfast 2 days ago, 3 days ago, whatever, and brought the movie up to my family. And
nice.
They shot the Steve McQueen movie, The Hunter, there too in Marina Towers. There's a car that goes off that building.
His last movie.
Right. Okay, his last film too, right?
And I have to bring this up because it's where I really, became a fan. And also, I have to say, I have to give a little bit of a disclaimer. This series also pissed me off. Was Forever Night, which was a Canadian series, which I friggin' loved.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, I love doing that show, but I had a sort of twisted way into that show. I had a relationship with New World Entertainment that became Columbia Pictures Television, and I had a deal over there, and I had developed a show called Monterey Jack, which was about a single dad whose wife has gone off and become Madonna or Cher.
So it's not about cheese.
No.
It's lunchtime. Mike's hungry.
No, I know it was a good title for a show. I thought it was about a guy who was, he ran a music booking business in Chicago. So if you wanted 50 flutes at the Buckingham Fountain at noon to play in a Gata de Vida, he'd know the people to call. So it was cool. It was about a music booking business in Chicago back in the day when there were musicians and people booked them. And his wife, as I said, had gone off and become Cher, and he had this 8-year-old son that he's raising. And so we had it at NBC, and New World, I was with New World and the people, and then they morphed into Columbia Pictures Television. They didn't show any interest in it. So I took the show on my own to NBC, and NBC wanted it, Brandon Tartikoff. So we ended up shooting a pilot. And then New World sued me, and we got into the lawsuit. And they lost, and I went and did this pilot for a pilot, in other words, a 10-minute pilot presentation. And NBC ended up going with another show about another single father called Blossom, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they ended up going with that show with Ted Wass, and my show got dropped. And then as a consolation, Columbia Pictures Television offered me this Forever Night thing that was going on that was called Nick Night and then became Forever Night.
Right.
But without going into too much detail, the powers that be at Columbia Pictures Television did not like me from the lawsuit. So I went up to Toronto and I did Forever Night. And after 2 seasons, they treated me really like Donkey Kong.
Right.
And then the 3rd season, they basically said, after my good work, the producers called me in and said, listen, we'd like to reduce your pay, make you the captain, work less a week, put in a younger partner because we're going over to USA Network. And what do you think?
Yeah,
and I said,
it's what everyone dreams of.
And I said, good luck, but you're going to ruin the show. And then they blew me up in an airplane. So
I was so pissed when that plane blew up, man. I was pissed.
It's the one and only time, Craig, that I've never, ever had the total love and support of the powers.
But we don't know that on the outside here. Yeah.
I know, but I'm telling you inside baseball stuff.
No, it's true. But I will say this.
I don't know whether it doesn't matter because
it just takes it takes something that's
retired and living in Hawaii with their fortunes. But
the one thing that I will always say about that show, it had one of the best series finales I've ever seen in my life. Because it just took it in a direct. I'm not going to give anything away.
Did they wake up and it was a dream?
It's a season finale that made you go, "Holy shit!" like that, and then it ends. You're like, what? It's like
and I was on CBS and I had some doings with that other cretin, Les Moonves, and who said he'll never be on my network when I was on his network almost every night.
Yeah, there you go.
His network, in a lot of ways, I'm really glad the Me Too movement has made a lot of these people the mighty have fallen, because there were a lot of really just stupid characters.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just I've never really ever said this out loud, but the guy was just a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's just the old adage, power corrupts, and absolute power, corrupts absolutely.
And a lot of these network guys acted so capriciously, and they still do. There's a lot of capricious behavior in show business, like off of their head. I'll never work with them again.
Yeah.
You were in Roxanne too, right?
Yes, sir.
This is a kind of a weird question. Did you have to audition with Steve Martin?
No, but I had Fred Skepsi. No, I didn't have to audition with Steve, but I think Steve had.
Because I have a friend of mine that was in the movie. Max Alexander was really heavy, fat.
Oh, Max, I love Max.
Yeah, Max passed away too.
Shuffled off the mortal coil. Yeah,
right. But Max always told the story that he went for this audition, and Steve Martin walks in and says, "Just read the lines with me," and he says, "It's Steve Martin." He goes like, "How intimidating." And the director just looks right at Max and goes, "You won't do. I need somebody thin."
Oh, shit.
And Max turns to him and goes, "I can play thin."
And
Steve Martin just started hysterical laughing. So he says to Steve Martin, "Let's just ad-lib the script." Right? And Steve Martin thought it was really funny. So he didn't get the part. And apparently the first day of shooting, Steve Martin said, well, where's the heavy guy, Max? And they said, well, he didn't get the part. He goes, get him here.
Wow, that's awesome.
Pretty wild.
Well, I mean, Kevin Nealon was in it, and
Yeah.
a
Kevin,
lot
I
of,
know Kevin.
and Rich Scheidner, and you know, a lot of
Yeah.
Those are intimidating moments. I remember I read for Analyze This with Harold Ramis. I walk in, I have no clue it's just me and friggin' Harold Ramis. And I'm like, geez, you know, you're nervous enough, and you walk in and there's Harold Ramis, and I read, and he goes, I hear you're a stand-up. Then he goes, make me laugh, you know? And I'm like, oh God. And
He said that to you?
yeah, he goes, come on,
Oh,
make me
that's-
laugh. And so I started doing it, and he just stone-faced, and I was like, okay, I'll go fuck myself now.
well, that's the curse, man. For me, I can remember two particularly horrendous auditions for two extremely famous, well, actually more than that, three now. I did an audition in front of Peter Bogdanovich, and afterwards he looked at me and just said, shake it off.
Oh shoot!
Oh, man.
Oh man!
And I did an audition for Mike Nichols and Nora Ephron in the hotel room at the Carlisle. And that, I'm not even going to go into that one, but that was humiliating. It was for a movie that Jack Nicholson ended up doing with Meryl Streep. They were reading me for the Jack Nicholson role.
Oh wow.
And then what was the other one? Oh, I did a really horrendous, funny one with Steven Seagal, where he asked me at the end, can use language on this, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He looked at my resume after my audition, and I just finished doing Internal Affairs, which is actually one of my favorite movies I've been in. And he looks at my resume and he goes, Richard, Internal Affairs, huh?
Oh my God.
So does Richard Gere stuff gerbils up his asshole?
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
And then I looked at him and I went, Richard Gere was a gentleman. And boom, they got me out of that room as fast as you could. I mean, you know, what am I going to say? I'm going to sit there and dish with the guy, you know?
Oh,
God.
If you want the part, yeah, you got to tell me. He takes five at a time of gerbils.
Every story I hear about Steven Seagal just makes me love him more.
Oh, and then I auditioned for the Coen brothers for Miller's Crossing, and I auditioned for the part that my good friend John Polito, the late great, got, you know,
Oh, I love John
one in the
Polito.
back of the brain, you know?
Yeah, good old John.
And it was the worst audition in the world. They looked at me like, really, you should leave this business sort of look, you know, like, what are you doing? You know, like, and I've had a lot of auditions where people look at you going, really? We thought you were good, you know?
Yeah. Were you
I did this.
I don't audition particularly well.
John Polito was incredible. When I first moved out, I had made friends with Tony Dennison, and he had been in that crime series with Polito
and Dennis Farina.
But every weekend,
the Crime Story.
Crime Story. And then the weekends, we used to spend the weekends at Tony's house, and John would be there, and we would just hang out and just a big party. It was always just.
Well, the funny thing about Polito is like, okay, I'm gonna say you yell cut. After I go, okay,
I know what you're gonna do.
Give me the gun. Give me the gun. Give me the gun.
Cut. We got it, John.
So anyway, how you doing?
Yes. He was just flaming in real life. Yeah.
As they come.
Yeah.
And like you go, Jesus, John, you're gay. He goes, yeah, of course I'm gay.
So Mike, how are you? I know it'd be like totally over the top.
You know, a book is coming out. A bio of him by Scott Voisin is coming out.
Well, Scott, I mean, yeah, I think it's already out. I got a copy of it.
Good.
It's pretty good.
Has Scott ever interviewed you? Because you'd be perfect for his book. He does the Character Kings books.
I know. We were in touch. I've got his book. I haven't never been in it.
Oh, you'd be perfect for him, man. Come on.
Talking about horror.
Not big enough for these guys.
Stop.
You gotta be.
You are
Bobby Carnivale or whatever.
You know what, man? I know what you're saying, but guys like you and whatever, that's what makes Hollywood, is the character guys that are in there. Yeah. For me anyway, that's what I love. You pick out a star, he's going to be whatever, but he can't make a movie alone. Without guys like you, it's just nothing, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's sweet of you to say, you know, but it's
almost
a tough burg, this town, you know.
We're almost out of time, but I wanted to leave like the last 3 to 5 minutes to talk about your album, Too Hip for the Room.
Oh yeah, I listened to a couple of those songs. They're pretty good, man. I like them.
Really good.
I was digging.
Tell us about that, man. It's awesome.
It ain't country and western music, that's for sure.
Oh man, I listened to it the other day when I was doing some editing, and it just musically it's terrific. It's swingy, it's bluesy, it's got style, and it's funny.
Well, the
Funny
thing is
stuff.
this. I mean, if when you watch a lot of movies, you sort of start figure out how you want to be in the movies, and then when you listen to a lot of records, like I did growing up and still do, you figure out this is the sort of music I love, and this is what and then the sort of album I'd like to make. I've made 3 albums, and I've actually pulled the first 2 out of. This is the only one that's out at the moment. I took 8 years of piano when I was a kid. One of the guys that took piano with my teacher is a guy named Garth Hudson, who's actually much older and played with the music, the band,
Right.
And I had a really solid musical upbringing, and I just really want to do something cool musically, but I also wanted people to laugh a little bit. The jazz idiom takes itself very seriously. I pissed off a lot of people with Round Lunchtime because it's an anthem and Round Midnight and all that stuff. But
These people are.
for the most part, it's done with a lot of care and love and respect. So.
Yeah.
And also, I also know my limitations as a musician. You really do when you're in the studio and you hear yourself back and go, well. I mean, I love the singer Kurt Elling. I wish I had his pipes, but
You wish you had his wife.
That's
You
a
wish you
great
had his wife.
song.
I wish I had
Oh, it's such a great song.
anyone's wife.
That's a good one.
But I mean, I love it and I appreciate it. I mean, I think that it's, people just don't work on their music as much as I'd like. They again, it's click and grab and put a rhythm track here and this and that.
Yeah.
It's awesome. We're gonna play the title track from it as we leave the show. But
I'm sorry I talked too much, Craig.
No, you were
That was great.
Anytime
You want to come back, just let us know.
we can do another 3 shows with everything that you've done, man.
I'm around tomorrow.
I've enjoyed this immensely, really. I mean, it's you're meeting somebody you admire for a long time to find out that you're a great guy, you're super talented, and I'll send you that check in the mail. And
yeah, wait till you get the bill, right?
Exactly. No, it's been a lot of fun. And I did mention in your intro, which I don't think you heard because you were coming in, that you're currently recurring, or you're on Days of Our Lives, playing the bad guy, which is awesome.
Well, I don't know how bad I am. Let's not tip the scale, but right now I'm doing a few things. Constantine is my character.
Constantine. Okay, you're suspicious, or you're fly. I don't know.
I'm after the Kiriakis, Victor John Aniston's family's fortune.
I always loved John Aniston. Victor was always great.
Aren't all like soap operas going to stop right now with the writer's strike?
That's a good question. We've got a few in the can, so I think we're going to shoot a few, but I think we're going to do a screeching halt in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, because they're really always affected by that.
Yeah, I mean, this writer's strike is going to throw a sort of a bunch of sand into the works for this year for a lot of people, myself included.
Yeah.
And I mean, the merits of the strike, of course, I think the writers should get what they need, and I think, but I mean, it's a drag that it's coming to this.
Yeah,
it's never a good situation.
Hopefully, it's not 100 days like the last one was.
Oh,
no comment. I mean, I freaking hope not, because if it does, then when I'm working at Walmart.
Yeah, we don't need that.
And you don't want me to be the greeter at Walmart.
No, you're the greeter. I'm the guy in the parking lot collecting the carts and bringing them back.
And I'm driving people there.
At least I'll get to say I worked with you.
Well, John, thank you very much for being here, man. It was a treat.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
John, it's up to you to take it away.
So that's it. Let's have a round of applause for our guest today.
Yes.
John Kapelos.
And let's have a round of applause for Craig Mitchell.
Yay, Craig Mitchell.
And Mike Grief.
Mike Grief, yes.
And I'm John Ferentino. We're the Big Bad Broadcast. You can see us everywhere on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook.
Podcast Playground.
Too many things to mention. If you got a podcast, let's do it anywhere. We're there.
That's right.
And the Podcast Playground.
There you go.
That's the big one.
Hanging out with Shaq Fu Radio.
And now it's time for Too Hip for the Room. Here we go. There we go.
but they don't, then dear old friend, you're too hip for the room. When you crack a joke about a smoking dude and they're calling 911, you're too hip for the room. When your smile gets them riled, you've won the day. When your laugh is a gab, wrap up and fly away. And when you hear Bird riff, that gift makes your heart go boom. Well then you know, my feathered friend, you're too hip for the room.